So what we are noticing right now in our clinic is a lot of people are sitting more than they're used to. Some people even 8 to 10 hours a day. What that does is create a lot of tightness in your hip flexors. So your hip flexors are the muscles on the front of your hips, but they're very deep and they can be very hard to stretch. So we're gonna be showing you some great stretches to lengthen out those tight hip flexors.
Okay, so this is a beginner hip flexor exercise. So what you're gonna want to find is a nice, stable base of support. So you can use a chair, you can use your counter, you can use a couch, whatever's gonna keep you nice and stable. And you're gonna place your arms on, and then what you're gonna do is bring whichever hip that you're trying to stretch out, the opposite foot forward. And so she's bringing that out, has a nice little bend here. That back leg is nice and stable on the ground, and basically she's just pushing her hips forward. And then that should get the nice good stretch here in her hip flexor. Okay, so this is your intermediate hip flexor stretch. So this time you're gonna start on your knees. You can have a nice little pad here if the ground's too hard for your knees. And she's gonna bring her opposite foot that she wants to stretch her hip on. It's gonna come forward. And then her back foot's gonna be nice and flat on the ground. And she's just gonna do the same thing, just reaching her hips so that way they're tilting to the ground. So she's really pushing in, and she can really feel that stretch there in that hip flexor. Here's your advanced hip flexor stretch from the side. So opposite leg's gonna go back from the hip that she's trying to stretch. So that's heading back and then knees coming forward. She's lifting her arms up so her abs are nice and engaged. She's driving her hips down and then leaning away from that hip that she's trying to stretch. If she wants to take it to the next level, she's just gonna drop down to her knee. And then same concept, just really stretching to the side, but then that helps just kind of get a little bit more length in there in the hip flexor. Okay, so remember, as you're doing your hip flexor stretches, you always wanna make sure that you have your core nice and engaged. You don't wanna have any drops or tilting in the hips, so that way you're not putting any extra torque on your low back. And then you can hold these from anywhere from 30 to 60 seconds. You can do them throughout your day, there's no limit. And pretty much just listen to your body. If it feels good, you can hold there. If it hurts, stop and then reevaluate and kind of make sure that your form is good.
Okay, so the reason we gave you this hip flexor stretch is because one of three things. You have recurrent low back pain, you have very tight hips, or you sit way too much throughout your day. Keep in mind, this exercise is meant to help you hold your adjustments better, and if you don't do it, we keep finding that recurrent subluxation pattern in your low back. So this is your way to help us get you better results faster.